The true biography of Felix Manalo is a good, written and created by your humble servant, Jerry Cajelon. Just call me Tatang JC. Thank you very much. Part 2 of the biography of Felix Manalo is a good. There came the time when the cult society called Colorum was founded by Apolinario de la Cruz, a native Filipino Catholic priest and well known for his believers and followers under his alias Brother or Hermano Pule. The group was first called the Sisterhood Brotherhood of the Great Sodality of the Glorious Lord Saint Joseph and the Virgin Mother Mary, or in Spanish is known as Hermandad de la Archiconfradía del Glorioso Señor San Jose y de la Virgen del Rosario. In short, it's called Confraternity of Saint Joseph, or in Spanish is known as Confradia de San Jose. The primary revealing objectives of this charitable society were to organize the Filipino or Indian people who were homeless, disabled, oppressed, and abused by the Spaniards, and to help each of them with their social well-being. The secondary objective is to secretly persuade or incite a rebellion against the oppressive Spanish government. But within their ranks, they prohibited the membership to anyone who was purely Spanish, and even the mixed blood called mestizos. In a very short time, the group or society gained large membership to almost 5,000 and spread quickly throughout the country. Obviously, for this reason, Governor General Marcelo Oraa of the Spanish regime and Archbishop Jose Segue of the Roman Catholic Church were seriously alarmed and consequently have totally banned from all kinds of gatherings. They finally declared the group an absolute heretic and subversive organization. Sometime in late 1841, an official executive order was issued to topple and eliminate this charitable society. Under the command of Colonel Joaquin Huet, all the members holding a pilgrimage were besieged in Barrio Isabang, just right at the foot of Mount Banahao in Quezon Province. Then, one day in November of the same year, all the members of the entire society, including innocent young children and relatives, wives and parents, as well as the grandparents, were bloodily murdered and massacred. Hermano Pule was captured on November 4, 1841 in Barrio Ibanga. Then he was immediately sentenced to death for insurrection and rebellion against the Spanish government. He was executed by a firing squad in Tayabas, and thereafter his corpse was beheaded and his head was impaled in a bamboo stick and probably raised high up in the air at a corner next to a nearby town center. In the same year, 1841, Geraldo La Sala, who is also known as Andoy, revived the same organization and society in Surigao. However, this time it's a fully open social group in the form of a country club and was called the Colorum. This name is derived from a Catholic prayer ending in Latin words in omnia et saecula saeculorum, which means forever and ever. Again, it spreads quickly and widely to many provinces and reached out in Manila through Felix Bernales, the baptismal godfather of Felix, whose father, Ano, is an avid follower and a very close friend. He was well known by his alias as Untitled, and others believe him as the reincarnation of the national hero, Dr. Jose Paciano Rizal. Evidently, even until these modern days, there exist some of them who remain with the same belief and practices. They were popularly known as Rizalistas. Though very few in numbers, they continued to dwindle. Meanwhile, at a place outside the country, many Filipinos who were called the Expatriates. These were the Filipinos who escaped from the political persecution being committed by the Spaniards in the Philippines and who are now living in the cities of Madrid and Barcelona in Spain. Those Filipinos eventually had founded the La Solidaridad. This is a revolutionary organization of prominent Filipino educators, students, book writers, overseas workers, nowadays were called OFWs, and journalists exposing and revealing the atrocities and abuses being committed by the government and Spanish priests in the Philippines. All this revelation is being done by means of disseminating their published books, journals, magazines, and other subversive writings locally and abroad. Eventually in 1882, Graciano Lopez Aina, Marcelo H. Del Pilar, Mariano Ponce, Jose Rizal, Dalicano Apacible, Antonio Luna, and many more Filipinos were initiated and accepted as members of the Freemasonry Lodge known as Logia Porvenir No. 2. In this Masonic Lodge, Graciano Lopez Aina was elected as Worshipful Master. He also became the master in another Masonic lodge called Logia Revolucion, established by other Filipino expatriates in Barcelona in 1889. In 1890, Graciano Lopez Aina, Marcelo H. Del Pilar, and Julio Lorente subsequently founded a new Masonic lodge called Logia Solidaridad No. 53 in Madrid to replace Logia Revolucion. Julio Lorente was the worshipful master and Marcelo Del Pilar as the senior warden. By January of 1891, Julio Lorente was replaced by Marcelo Del Pilar as worshipful master. Due to Marcelo's overwhelming aspiration to spread the teachings of Freemasonry and with a burning nationalistic desire fighting the oppressive Spanish government and abusive priests in the Philippines, he founded the first Masonic lodge in the country. This is in accordance with the permission granted by Grand Master Miguel Moraita of Gran Oriente Español, a respected professor of Central Universidad de Madrid. He's a Republican and liberal and a serious supporter of Filipinos in Spain fighting for their national independence and human rights. On March 20, 1891, with the help of Moises Salvador, Pedro Serrano Lactao, and Jose A. Ramos, the first society of masonry in the Philippines is founded and called Lohia Nilad number 144. Thereafter, in July 1892, Jose P. Rizal was elected as an honorary worshipful master of the lodge. Shortly after a year, the number of members grew to nearly 100 since it was founded. Subsequently, Apolinario Mabini, Andres Bonifacio, Emilio Aguinaldo, and many more became members. The membership and thereafter grew largely with the help of other members by means of creating recruitment groups called pyramids, and in Filipino is known as triangulos. It became so popular and spread so quickly in many provinces and towns in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, mainly because the virtue of nationalism and social festivities were injected into it. Eventually, from within, the Filipino Armed Revolutionary Secret Society called Katipunan or KKK is founded. In order to keep the Katipunan Society uncompromised, the colorum is used as a cover-up with publicly open social festivities and gatherings in flatlands, accompanied by an annual pilgrimage in the mountains. For this manner, members can secretly conduct planning and meetings of the Katipunan. Felix's father, Mariano Isagun, became an avid and devoted member of the colorum while secretly hiding his association with the Katipuneros. Therefore, in all essence, colorum is the outside image of the Katipunan, and while the Katipunan is the outside image of the Freemasonry in the Philippines. The monetary and other financial collections for the Katipunan were being raised and made through the colorum, which was also being utilized to fund the nationwide revolution against the Spanish regime. During the time of the resistance or revolution against the American occupation, the Philippine American War of 1899 to 1902, the colorum was exclusively funding the overall needs of the Katipuneros, including the funding of the war efforts by General Miguel Malvar, the last rebel officer who surrendered to the Americans. He was the commander of the rebel group Felix's father, Mariano Isagun, has served. Meanwhile, let's look back into the life of Felix. After the death of Dr. Jose P. Rizal on December 30, 1896 in Dapitan, a significant and greater nationalism had risen along with the rebellions in every section of the Philippines, including a group of Filipino Catholic priests headed by Gregorio Aglipay of Ilocos. When Felix's priestly uncle, Mariano de Borja, joined the religious subversive group founded by Gregorio Aglipay, known as the Iglesia Filipina Independiente, Felix withdrew from his studies from becoming a Catholic priest because he can no longer accept the new doctrine and teachings his uncle instituted. Besides this, Felix truly has no ambition of becoming a Catholic priest. His schooling at the seminary is just a mere concession to his father, Mariano Isagun's wish for him. In 1903, Felix had chosen to go home instead and stay with the mother, who is now remarried to Clemente Mozo, the cabeza de barangay of Tipas, Taguig. He helped make and sell head cups, fans, and hats in a small store built by his mother. However, his homecoming didn't earn good merits and instead received more unpleasant receptions from those who knew him well from childhood friends and relatives in the community. Soon, he was persecuted, scorned, and laughed at by others. Almost the entire family was in shame when he decided to give up his studies in order to become a Catholic priest. And because of all these circumstances, Felix felt great anger to himself, saw his ego spiraling downward and degrading. He lost total respect for himself. During those days, for being an ordained priest in the Catholic religion or church is just as equal to having the highest title and a prestigious image any person can get. This is because of the prestige in power, respect, and privileges acquired in the society which come along with it. During the time of the American occupation, the same prestige is equivalent to being a lawyer, teacher, or a doctor, and today is equal to being a politician, overseas worker, OFW, or an engineer. Consequently, for Felix to overcome and relieve self-degradation, he instead became addicted in gambling and cockfighting with one of his uncles, became a womanizer, and involved himself with street gangs, smoking, and drunkenness at the age of 16 only. And once, he was caught stealing the neighbor's rooster just to get into the cockfighting stadium. Thankfully, he was bailed out from his local prison with a little amount of expenses by his stepfather, of course, with the help of his mother's grieving request and a plea to her husband's Clemente Mozo for his release. At that time, one way of securing a free gate pass into the cockfighting arena or stadium is by having possession of a cockfighting rooster going through the gate. Because of this humiliation, Felix ended up joining the Colorum, which at the time was very active and popular. It even had a greater social and political influence in the local community. His association with the cult practices, and these secret revolutionary teachings of the Colorum have played an important role in freeing himself from the Catholic faith. From here on, he saw the many incivilities and lies of the Catholic religion, and soon he felt obligated to research other beliefs, such as Protestantism brought to the Philippines by the Americans. The first Protestant faith which catches his serious attention sometime in 1904 is the Methodist Episcopal Church. He joined in, and at first, he was very devoted and dedicated in teaching the members of the youth group. But his work in the church was voluntary in nature, which means having no salary or monetary compensation. Thus, sometime in 1905, he switched his faith into the Presbyterian Church and began doing ministerial work. Then, he became a regular pastor and a Bible teacher of youth members, receiving a fixed monthly salary, receiving free studies and ministerial education in order to become an ordained minister from the Americans officiating the Protestant Church. My dear brothers and sisters, friends, countrymen, and acquaintances, please stay tuned for the upcoming Part 3 of the biography of Sir Felix Manalo Isagun in my next presentation on the Internet of the cyber world. To my dear brothers and sisters, friends, countrymen, and acquaintances, please like, share, and subscribe also to my YouTube channel so you can easily follow through on my next significant manifestations or testimonies. Thank you very much.